Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Michael and today I'm going to share with you my recipe on how to make cinnamon raisin bagels. So I've already got one cut up here and I've got some cream cheese on it. These are really good. I've already ate the other half of it, so I've got this half here. But you can see they've got a nice color to them. We've got raisins all the way through. You're going to want to stay with me today and I'll show you how this is made. All right, so let's get started making our cinnamon raisin bagels. So we're not going to be using a lot of equipment today. We're going to be using a stand mixer, but if you don't have a stand mixer to knead the dough, you can definitely use your hands to do that. I'm going to be using the stand mixer. It just makes it go a little bit easier. So if you got one of those, definitely want to use that. And we're going to go ahead and proof our yeast so we'll make sure that it's good, because what we don't want to do is make everything and then find out at the end that it's not going to rise after you've waited for the dough to rise and it didn't rise because the yeast was dead. So I have 1.5 cups of water, and the water I've got now, I've got a candy thermometer in there, is sitting at 104, and I've got that in there. You want it between 100 to 110. Anything above that will kill the yeast, and you don't want to have it hotter than that. Anything lower than that, it'll take a little bit longer for it to activate. So that's kind of the sweet spot with the yeast, is between 100 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit. If you got one of these, this is an infrared thermometer. You can use that also. I just happen to have the candy thermometer, and I thought I would give that a try today. So 1.5 cups of the warm water. I've got 2¼ teaspoons of active dry yeast, and I make quite a bit of bread, so I buy it in bulk. If you don't have that, the bulk boxes of it where you can buy it, and you've got the little packages, each one of those little packages is 2¼ teaspoons of yeast, so you can use one of the packages of the yeast. And then I've got 1 teaspoon of salt, and I've got 1 teaspoon of sugar, and I've got 2 tablespoons of sugar, and I've got 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and I've got 1 cup of raisins, and I've got 3.5 cups of bread flour, or 500 grams, whichever one you're using on that. So those are all the ingredients that we've got today. So let's go ahead and get our yeast proofed. And like I said, I've got my water here. We're going to add our 2¼ teaspoons of yeast. And then I'm going to give it a little bit of sugar. That'll make it activate a little bit faster, and that is 1 teaspoon. So we'll add that in there to that. And we'll let that sit for about 4 to 5 minutes until it starts bubbling up. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a stir. And then we'll let that sit and see in about 4 minutes if we've got active yeast. So I'll set that to the side. So we'll go ahead and we'll start working on our dry ingredients. Like I said, I've got 3.5 cups of bread flour, or 500 grams. And we want to add that teaspoon of salt. We do not want to add the salt into the yeast. We would proof that because it doesn't like that when it's trying to proof. So we'll put that in our dry mixture. So 1 teaspoon of salt. And then we've got 2 tablespoons of sugar. And we'll add that in like that. And I've got 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. We'll add that in, and I'm just going to give that a good mix. And I'm going to hold off on putting the raisins in it until I get ready to add it to the stand mixer, and we'll add it at that point to that. But, all right, so I've got my dry ingredients mixed together. I see a little bit more of that cinnamon. Let me make sure they get all of that out of there. And we're going to wait on my yeast, and I'll come back and let you see what that looks like. But definitely want to let that set for about 4 minutes until we make sure that it's active. I'll be right back. My yeast did activate, so we've got some good yeast here. So I went on and put my flour and my raisins in my stand mixer, and I've got that set up over here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that on low, and we're going to slowly add the water to it until it gets completely incorporated into it. And then I'm going to turn it up to like a level 2, and we're going to knead it for 8 minutes. So, like I said, if you didn't have the stand mixer, you definitely would want to knead this for at least 8 minutes. So let's get that process started. All right, our dough's coming together. Let me push some of this down off the side here so that we make sure that we get all of that in there. We don't want to miss any of that. And it has come together now, so I'm going to set my timer for 8 minutes. And my timer just went off, so I'm going to go ahead and pull the dough out of the stand mixer here. And let's take off this dough hook. So I've got my dough here now that's been kneading for the last 8 minutes. I'm going to put a little bit of flour out on this cutting board here. And that way, when I roll it out on it, it will be, won't stick to my surface here. I'm going to roll it into a ball. Okay, so I've got that there, and I've got the bowl that I originally had my flour in, and I've taken some oil, just regular neutral vegetable oil, and I've wiped the sides down. Definitely, we've got everything incorporated into this now, and we've got a nice dough. Get some of that flour off there because we don't need all that on it. All right, so now let's put that in our bowl here. Like I said, we're going to turn it a couple of times so that we get a evenly coating on it, and that way it doesn't dry out too as it's rising. It put a little bit of a barrier on it, so it'll help it come out of the bowl, and it will also help it keep it from drying out. So I'm going to put some cling film on it. I'm going to put it in my microwave, and I'm just going to leave it in there. We need to let it rise for an hour and a half. So wherever you've got in your home that you want to put it in, you can put it in your oven as long enough. If you got a proofing drawer, you can use one of those. Or you can put it, like say, in the microwave. That's a little bit warmer than my room temperature. So definitely we're going to see what happens with this at an hour and a half. It will not have doubled in size, but it'll be pretty close to it. So I'm going to put some cling film on it, put it in the microwave, and just let it sit in there. And we'll let it rise for about an hour and a half, and we'll see you when we come back. It's been an hour and a half, and we're going to show you the dough now. It looks like it has doubled in size, so I'm going to take this cling film off the top of it and show you what this looks like. There it is. We've got a good rise on our dough. So I'm going to put a little bit of flour here on my surface. And I'm going to turn this out on this board. All right. Just going to kind of give that a little bit of turn. We'll deflate it. And now we're going to take it and we're going to divide it into 8 pieces. So just going to kind of eyeball it and look at it and see, okay, we're going to cut it down the middle. And we'll cut it a 90-degree angle to it, and then we'll cut another. And now we're going to form these into little balls so that we can make our bagels. So what we're going to do with these, we'll just take these and just kind of turn themselves in on each other. Till we get all of that closed up, and then I'm going to kind of roll it under my hand here a little bit. And we're going to roll out all of these 8. So I've got 2 trays here with 2 seal pat mats on them, and I've got some clean towels here, and I'm going to put those on the trays. And then I'm going to continue to roll these out, and we need to let these rest for 20 minutes. So once we get these all rolled out, we need to let the dough rest so the gluten can relax. If you don't, when you try to shape them into the bagels, they'll spring back on themselves. So we're going to continue this process of rolling all 8 of these out, and I will show you when we get back what we do next. Okay, so now I got all of the bagels rolled out into the little balls here, and I'm going to take a little bit of the flour. I'm going to put it on my fingers, put it on both of them, because this is how we're going to make our shapes. So we kind of press it out just a little bit there, and you want to take your finger in the middle, and we can do it on both ends, and you want to push it until you form a hole, and then we're just going to pull it apart just like this. And that will form our bagel. And now once we get all of these made, we will now let these sit and rest for 20 minutes. And while these are resting, you want to turn your oven on and preheat that 425. And we'll get the oven going on that up to 425. And then I've got a pot of water here that's got 12 cups of water in it. And to that, as you can see, this nice shape for this little bagel. And to the 12 cups of water, we're going to add 1/3 of a cup of honey. And so I want to bring the water to a boil, almost to a boil. We'll put the honey in, and then at that point, we will take our bagels and we're going to give them a water bath for 1 minute on each side. So I'll continue to put these holes in these bagels, as you can see here, how these are turning out. And we're going to let these rest for 20 minutes, and then we will do our water bath and get them cooking so that we can put them in the oven next. All right, I'll be back as soon as I get these all fixed. All right, it has been 20 minutes and our bagels have been here resting. So you can see what we've got here. We've got these 4, and then I've got another 4 over here. So now let's do our honey bath that we've got. So I've got 1/3 of a cup of honey, and I've got, like I said, 12 cups of water that I've got over here, and I'm just going to add that to it. And I'm going to give that a little bit of a stir to kind of incorporate that honey into that water. And now we're ready to give our bagels their honey wash. So I'm going to take a fork. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to put it around the bagel. And I've got my phone here that I've got for a timer. And I'm going to set that for 1 minute. And I'm going to drop these in. I'll do a couple at a time. And we're going to let that run for 1 minute on that side. So now we're going to take them and we're going to turn them over, and we just take the fork and you just turn over, and we'll set another timer for 1 minute. All right, our second minute is up and we're going to take our bagels out. So we're going to let them rest here on this seal mat until I get all of them done. And then we're going to put them in the oven, and I'll explain that here in just a second. So you can see the water did puff them up a little bit, so you make sure that you've got them spread out a little bit. I could probably get more than 4 in here, but I'm just going to put the 4 on this tray, and we're going to put them in the oven for 20 minutes. At 10 minutes, we're going to turn the tray around just to make sure we get an even cooking on both sides of them, and just kind of keep a watch on them at once you get around 15 minutes as they get close to 20. You want them to have a nice golden color to them, but you don't want them to get too hard. So I'm going to continue this process. We'll do all the rest of these bagels. I'm going to put them in the oven. I'll put both trays in there, 20 minutes, 425. We'll see you back when I let my bagels cool down, and I did happen to cheat a little bit. I went on and put some cream cheese on a bagel, and I already ate half of one of these. These are so good. I couldn't wait and resist. I just couldn't. So I knew I said I was going to wait and do it on camera, but I'm going to give you a little bit of taste on this one. I've got these. These are just incredible. They've got the raisins all the way through them. They've got a nice cinnamon hint of taste to them. So I'm going to give this a little taste and let you see. These are really good. They're chewy. The raisins are just excellent. I hope this has inspired you today. If you've never made bagels before, to give these a try. They're really easy to make. And if you've got some here and you don't plan on eating them all at once, you can actually take them and freeze them. You can put them in a Ziploc bag and then freeze them. And then as you need them, you can pull them out, defrost them, and then put your favorite smear on them, whatever you like. Like I said, today I used some Philly cream cheese. These are really good. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and this recipe. And if you like the content of this, maybe you can check out one of these other 2 over here. You might find something else you like. All right, stay with me. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye now.